I'm Sophia A. Jackson, and I'm the editor and founder of Aphrodisiac Theatre News. And today I am joined by...
Renell Shaw. I am a composer, songwriter, and music producer, and I am very happy to be here.
Thank you. So back in 2020, you won the very prestigious Ivor Novello Award. How did that change your life?
Well, I think all our lives were changed because it was
Well,
2020.
well,
So
yes.
it was weird because you're trying to figure out what part of this is the like feels like a shift in your life and career, like creatively, alongside the shift in my life and career literally because the world was in lockdown and stuff. So it was quite polarizing in a sense of new ideas, new direction, new scope, and then levels of limitation. But as we do as artists, we are used to working within, the constructs that we're given and finding ways to make something more than. And the Windrush Suite is a great example of that. It was originally a commission by a lady called Kathy Ann Hingwan, who works at the Vortex in Dalston, which is an amazing jazz venue. And she had commissioned me to compose a piece that honored the Windrush generation, and it was supposed to be a one-off performance at the Vortex. But then we went into lockdown, and we spoke, and we were saying, "How do we do this now?" And I said, "Well, why don't I just make it as like in a project, a recorded project? Because all my favorite musicians are at home now, so they can record from home." So that is how it turned into becoming a recorded body of work rather than a one-off performance, and that then led to it being nominated for an Ivor and winning. So it's such an interesting journey that even got to becoming an Ivor Novello award-winning piece that sometimes you can't even see how the opportunities leveraged each other until you look back in hindsight. So it's, like I said, it's polarizing, but I love it. I'm here for the madness.
And how are you feeling about it being performed at King's Place later on this month?
I'm extremely excited about that. I have had offers before to perform the body of work, but it has never been the right time, the right venue, the right fee, because I know who I want on stage, and I need to make sure that my people are compensated fairly. So with my residency at King's Place, that was all in alignment. It all feels right. So I am so grateful because I'm fans of the people who are going to be performing with me. For me, it's like a free gig. They just happen to be playing my music.
Yeah.
I've got the fortune of having my mentor, Orphy Robinson, on stage with me playing marimba. He's one of the reasons why I have a career as a musician and composer. Jean Toussaint on saxophone, who was one of the last of Art Blakey's jazz messengers, as well as Orphy Robinson being from the Jazz Warriors. So there's heavy jazz lineage on this stage. And Ayana Witter-Johnson is a beautiful composer and performer who sits in the classical world, but she is more than that. Romana Campbell is my drummer, and she's an amazing Olivier award-winning composer. So I kind of just get to hang out with my friends, and everyone else gets to watch this music happen. So I'm very humbled by this team of Avengers that I've been able to assemble, and I'm very much looking forward to what we do on the night.
And how did your residency at King's Place come about, and what does that actually involve?
So my residency came about via some of the work I was doing with Manchester Camerata. So Sam McShane, who is now the creative director at King's Place, used to look after Manchester Camerata. And I was commissioned to write a piece with 3 other composers of Caribbean descent. And it was reimagining Vivaldi's Four Seasons, of which we called the Four Seasons of the Caribbean, which has a very different place. So I met Sam there, and she already knew some of my work in the house and electronic world with my band Two Fox. So she knew me, but not in this space. And we got on, and she loved what I did up there. And I guess as she moved down into this new position, I say down, I mean down from Manchester to London, into this new position, she saw the possibilities of what I could do at King's Place. And we had a conversation. I told her, yeah, I'm interested. Let's speak more about it. And here I am, a resident, and what it entails.
Mm,
It's a mix of things. So they have a season that they're running for the year called Memory Unwrapped. And this is why I felt the residency aligned with what I could offer. Is the Windrush Suite is about honoring memory, not just my grandparents' generation, but memory.
thank you.
Yeah. So I wanted to, it was more than just honoring the memory of my grandparents, but actually honoring the memory of the diaspora. We might be Caribbeans, but no, we are Africans via the Caribbean who are
Hmm.
now here in the UK. So it's allowed me to explore what that means, how I want to present it via performances, master classes, talks. I'm finding different ways to use this residency to kind of not just present my work, but actually present me as a curator of
Mm.
of the diaspora in from my perspective.
And in terms of the Windrush Suite, how did you go about doing your research? Did you speak to family members? Did you go to the Caribbean? Yeah, what did the research process look like?
The research process was just talking with my grandparents. It was so
Mm.
interesting because before the commission was given to me, I'd never really considered the story of the Windrush generation um, from a analytical space because they were just stories I heard every Sunday when I was at my grandparents or when my mum would drop me off like on a half term and oh yeah, we did come from Jamaica and Sister Phyllis did da 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 da. So
Mm.
it was just there.
Hmm.
Um, it was only when I was like, okay, I need to write about this that I realized, okay, I don't want to just tell these stories from a kind of like David Attenborough documentary like style, like I'm from the outside of it. Like these
Yeah.
stories are why I'm here. So I need to tell them on a human level. I don't want to say these people came here. My grandma came over here and she didn't come on no boat. My grandma don't like water. She took a plane.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so that's a whole different thing. And that debunks the assumption immediately because they not
Yeah.
everybody came here on a boat.
But they
Um,
make us think that is what happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I wanted to tell the human story because my
Mm.
granddad came over here because he was chasing after my grandma. Their story is a love story. He didn't come for opportunity and work. Like,
Okay.
he came for my grandma. And my grandma
Yeah.
came because one of her good friends said, come, because my grandma was a dressmaker. And she said, like
Right.
this, there's things to do here.
Mm.
So, and my grandma as well, she didn't come because she needed to. She just wanted to check it out.
Okay.
So I'm not saying that's everybody's story, but that was my grandparents' story. And I think what I needed to do was create something that allowed resonance. It needed to feel
Mm.
personal, but it needed to open up that space for my peers to recognize, yo, I know these stories too. I didn't realize that was Windrush. That was just what I used to hear at home too. So that has kind of been my research process is actually, if you want to understand the Windrush story, I'm offering a way to understand it from the inside out, not the outside in.
And have they seen the previous version of the Windrush Suite, your grandparents?
Yes, yes, yes. When it went live, because we were in lockdown, when
Yeah.
the YouTube performance of it went live, they were watching online, and it's so interesting because I have recorded conversations with my grandparents that I've used in the Windrush Suite. So they'd
Mhm.
be listening and oh, it's nice. Oh, that's nice. And then hear them say, is that me? What me do, pan? When did you? Da, 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 da. Oh well, I guess I'm famous now.
That's so
And
nice.
yeah, and they loved it. They loved it. My granddad, he's a very quiet man. So
Mm.
his silence told me his joy. I
Okay.
find that when he has something to say, well, my late grandfather, he was a very intelligent man, and he could always find something that offered improvement to things. But his silence was his way of, okay, I see what you've done, and this is you. And he was really taken back by it. I think even more so once it won the Ivor Novello because my late grandfather and I we share the same name, so he was looking at his name
Oh, nice.
on his
Yeah.
wall. And I know that moved him because he was a musician as well. He he played trumpet and his joy was jazz.
Hmm.
So, in the times when he wasn't doing all of his other jobs, he'd be playing in bands and just doing what he did because he loved it.
And let's talk about the musician side. So you play bass guitar, electric guitar, piano, and percussion, as well as being a composer. Have I missed any instruments out?
There's a few other, but I don't want people to call me for them because, sometimes people say they play things and then it's like, all right, come and do this gig. And then I'll be on, I was like, I play flute, but do I want to play flute on stage?
Okay.
Trumpet was my first instrument following my granddad. But yeah,
Yeah.
bass guitar is my working instrument, I would say. And piano and guitar are my writing instruments.
There's a lot of instruments there. So what was your childhood introduction to music and where did the passion come from? Was it from your grandfather?
My earliest live experience of music was my grandfather, just
Mm,
playing in his house, practicing, going over songs. And my earliest memory is of me at about 3 or 4 years old, just dancing in a sitting room while he was playing, just kind of dancing in a circle. I can remember that moment very, very clearly. And he introduced me to people like Louis Armstrong and Dizzy Gillespie and Duke Ellington and this kind of wild world of jazz. But I didn't
mm,
know that's what it was. He was just sharing what he loved. I didn't really get into music with like an intentional interest until I was about 13. But
okay.
even my mum is a like very, very like deep music lover, and she made me cool. So she was the one who in the house, who's was Lauryn Hill, TLC, Jodeci. So this was in me, but I didn't know it was my musical DNA until I started to create. My dad was a sound engineer, so he was working in a lot of the clubs in London, central
Hmm.
London, and that was my early introduction to jungle and drum and bass. And
Okay.
I would be at certain clubs that I probably shouldn't have been at like 9 years old, but he's got to look after the kid. So there I am at the sound desk behind, and I'd see like Goldie and the metalheads and like early drum and bass shaping itself into
That's
what
very
it
cool.
comes. So yeah, there has been that influence, but the interest didn't kick in for years later. It was just a part of my life.
So did you start, when did you start actually having music lessons then?
13.
And then
Mm,
in that time, you've learned
yeah.
how to play all of these instruments. That's very impressive.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yes, thank you. I'll start there, but I kind of play for me. I would always
Okay.
say there are musicians who can probably play much better than I can, but I can play what I want, and that's always been my prime thing. And I toured for a very long time as a session musician, just mainly guitar and bass. But my mum has always said from the second I got into music, she said, "You're a composer, you're a creator, you're not just a performer."
Mm,
I'm like, "No,
okay.
mom, I want to tour, I want to play with like big musicians." And I did all of that. I've toured the world, I've done the stadiums. And it's like once achieved, the pull back to the nucleus of what my heart wanted was creating. So my mum was
Hmm.
right from the beginning. I should have just listened to her.
You should have just listened to your mum.
Literally, yeah.
I have the reason why I say it's so impressive. I did clarinet up to grade 5, and
Okay.
then the theory element, I was like, no, I can't do this. It's like maths. So I don't know how you can play that many instruments and the theory side is just very complicated.
Well, my perspective has always been that the music came before the theory.
Right.
The theory is a very Western way of translating something into a
Mm,
form that allows others to understand it.
hmm.
But try and put theory to half of the things going on in like the rural parts of South Africa or Native
Ah,
America or East
this
Asia. Like you can't put theory to that,
this is
you
very
know?
true. And that's where it lost me. I was like, no, this is like another language.
Yeah.
And I
Some
can't
things are
read
just
music now. So I love that you're able to do all of this and plow your creativity into a career that you love.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I really do believe that it's about for me, it's about the music first.
Hmm.
So, I think of music like a child. It may come from me, but it's not mine, you know?
Okay.
I may have contributed to its creation, but it belongs to the people. It's about how you
Mm.
find your own resonance in that. So when I'm creating, I'm not it's an ego thing to think people are here to see me. You're here to find yourselves in the music because that's what got me into music. Songs that I heard that changed my idea on something. You know, I quoted this to a friend yesterday. I was thinking of a Lauryn Hill lyric that I was just like, it was so beautiful. And it was just her experience of love. And she said, the sweetest thing I've ever known is a kiss against my collarbone. And I just was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I want to write like that, you know? I want to
Yeah.
write like that. So that's what I do is I give it and then it belongs to the people. It's there to uplift and inform the people.
And is it Echo in the Bones?
Echo in the Bones, yeah.
Yeah, that's the sequel to the Windrush Suite, and that's also being performed on the same night. So tell us a bit about that, the
So Echo
journey.
in the Bones, that was the second commission. The first one done really well, and Kathy Ann said, "Hey, I've got some funding. Let's do a part two." And I was thinking about, what do I want to talk about? I don't want to expand on the Windrush generation. I want to leave I want to present what I've done and leave it to be interpreted and talked about, and that can go to spaces. So I thought I want to talk about my parents' generation. You know, this, you know, not British enough for Britain, not Caribbean enough for the Caribbean. So that is their story. And the idea of echo in the bones is things that echo have to have a sense of hollowness. You know, there's an emptiness in there. So it was my understanding of their search for identity and that fight for it. I think my grandparents' generation came over and they had their triumphs over adversity. But I think my parents' generation, they fought back. They weren't allowing the levels of racism and injustice to be tolerated, you know, in a way that was more revolutionary, in my humble opinion. So Echo in the Bones is reflecting that. It's got a different force to it. And that's intentional. The first one, the Windrush Suite, is a lot more beautiful and it has a lot more kind of sweeping suites. Echo in the Bones, I introduced brass instruments. I needed a bit more fire in the belly of the music. So it's my reflection on just hearing not so much their stories, but the fight, the energy in them when they talked about what they had to do and the things they did. And, you know, I talk with my uncles and they'd say how a lot of black men back in their 70s and 80s got into martial arts to protect themselves.
Okay.
You know, that's where that came from. And I really resonated with that because I think the fight that my generation are having is more on a psychological one. But that's because of the work that my parents did to say, no, if you push, we will push back. So that's where Echo in the Bones sits, and it sits in that different space. But they connect. They do connect because it shows the transition of culture and memory and basically the ownership of what it means to be able to feel like a human being in spaces that want to look at you as everything else before human, you know, Black, Caribbean, lower class, upper class.
Oh, the labels.
The labels, you know? So that's the common denominator through that is it's about, can you see the humanity beyond the labels? Yeah.
And I think it'll be nice for the audience that we get to see both of them on the same night. So I guess we can see the progress from the first one and come up with our own conclusions.
That's the most important part, is that you come up with your own conclusions. I'm not telling you this is what it is. I'm saying, here's my perspective. This is for you. Let's talk about it. You know, I think art should give birth to more critical thinkers from the audience. I think we expect too much to just be handed to us. And I think art should challenge, it should entertain, and it should inform. So it has to be, I had to do both of them on the same night so you can understand why the transition.
Okay, yeah. And obviously it's happening just a few days after Windrush Day, so it's obviously perfectly timed and people will be having those conversations anyway and feeling quite reflective, I hope. You've had a lot of support from your family on your journey as a composer and a musician. So what advice would you give to the next generation of composers who want to follow in your footsteps?
Take your time. You have more time than you think you do. I think sometimes when we're young, we believe that we have to get this now, or we have to get this together now, or else it's too late, or I've missed my chance, my opportunity. It's not true. Take your time, find your sound, and make a choice. And when I say make a choice, I mean, for me, I believe there are two options as a composer. You can be the person who they say, I need a composer. And you come in, you're a composer for hire, you get the job done. Or you can be the person where they say, no, I need Renell Shaw. The
Okay.
difference is I have a sound. So I'm not going to be
Yeah.
called for everything, but what I'm called for aligns with where I should be. So decide which one you want to be as a composer. Neither is better or right or wrong, but
Mhm.
I tried doing the composer for hire commissioning thing, and I struggled with people telling me, oh, could you do it kind of like this person and like that? I'm like, but that's not
Oh,
what I hear, you know? So
yeah.
I had to learn how to build a sound and a space that actually allowed directors and commissioners to hear my stuff and go, I like what you do. I'd love that in my world. So have a sound and give yourself time.
That sounds like excellent advice. And I really loved the Black Power desk. So is that how it came about? Did they come to you and say, we want to work with you?
Yeah, yeah. I'd seen it at Beam, you know, where they have lots of different kind of developing theatre productions kind of showcased. And I thought it was interesting, but they already had the music there. So I was like, oh,
Mm,
that's nice. But when they came to me, it was originally to musically direct. And I said, no, I don't want to do that.
okay.
But I really appreciate you asking for me. And then they came back again, maybe a year later, and said, look, we want to kind of expand this. How do you hear it? What could happen with the music and stuff? And I said, okay, well, here's how I would kind of offer my compositional ear to the music that was there. I would take this, but make it look like that, and da da da. And Uriel, who's the writer and
Yeah.
composer, Jarrell, who's the rapperturg, and I kind of formed this really cool triangle. We call ourselves the House of L, but
Hmm.
where we were able to kind of really mix and merge and challenge each other with love to find what's best for the music. Because, like I said, it's not about us; it's about serving a story.
Mm,
So they understood that, yes, I'm going to look at things a little differently and I need to find a way to show you how I can hear this and what it can be. But it's for the sake of serving a story. It's not for me to just put my print on it. You know, when I say I want to do things with my sound, it's because I hear a way that things can be received, not because I want to just do me. So yes, that process has has worked. You know,
yeah, it's brilliant. And there aren't enough black musicals, especially with completely original content. So I think that's really exciting. I hope it get. I think we were all hoping for a West End transfer. So
well, I won't say yes, I won't say no. I'll just say things are happening.
okay,
And I'll
that
leave it
that's
there.
enough for me. Okay,
Yeah.
back to the Windrush Suite. In one sentence, why should we come and see it?
You should come and see the Windrush Suite for transformation of yourself, of how you see art, and of how you see the idea of what it means to be from the Windrush generation.
Thank you. That's perfect. And thank you so much for your time. And I look forward to seeing it.
Oh, I can't wait. And come and say hi. Let's have a proper conversation,
I will.
honestly.
I
Yeah,
will.
amazing.